You know what makes me absolutely sick? Seth Rollins stood in that ring last Monday night, tears streaming down his face, talking about brotherhood, loyalty, and the Shield legacy, while wearing a knife covered in Roman Reigns' blood on his back. And you people cheered for him. You actually believed his crocodile tears and his Hollywood performance about how he had no choice but to turn his back on the tribal chief. Well, I've got news for every single one of you Seth Rollins sympathizers out there. Karma doesn't forget, and neither does Roman Reigns. Because what WWE didn't want you to know, what they tried to hide from you, what they buried in the dirt for weeks, is that Roman Reigns has been making phone calls, secret meetings, underground negotiations, and the man on the other end of that line? None other than the most dangerous, most unpredictable, most violent wrestler on the planet, Jon Moxley. That's right, the purveyor of violence himself is coming back to WWE, and he's bringing hell with him. But before we dive into this nuclear bombshell that's about to explode Raw into pieces, let me ask you this, and I want you to drop your answer in the comments right now. Was Seth Rollins justified in betraying Roman Reigns, or is he the biggest snake in WWE history? Comment below because this debate is about to get heated. Now, let's rewind the clock and talk about what really happened. 3 weeks ago on Raw, Seth Rollins had a vision. That's what he called it. A vision of the Shield reuniting one more time. He came out to that iconic music, he talked about brotherhood, he extended the olive branch to Roman Reigns for what felt like the 100th time. But here's what nobody's talking about: Roman never asked for that reunion. Roman never begged Seth to come crawling back. Roman was perfectly fine as the undisputed tribal chief, sitting on his throne, ruling WWE with an iron fist alongside his bloodline. But Seth couldn't handle the fact that Roman had moved on. Seth couldn't stomach the reality that the Shield was his security blanket, not Roman's. So what did he do? He manipulated the entire WWE universe with his vision speech, got everyone emotional, got everyone believing in the dream of the Shield one more time, and then, when Roman reluctantly agreed to hear him out, when Roman showed up out of respect for what they once built together, boom! Seth hit him with the most cowardly, most calculated, most disgusting betrayal we've seen in years. And don't even get me started on how Seth justified it. Roman's changed. The tribal chief gimmick corrupted him. He's not the brother I once knew. You know what that is? That's gaslighting. That's psychological manipulation at its finest. Seth Rollins literally betrayed Roman Reigns twice now, once back in 2014 when he smashed a chair across his brother's backs, and now again in 2025 when he couldn't handle the fact that Roman evolved beyond the Shield. Here's a quick trivia question for the real wrestling historians in the comments section. How many times has Seth Rollins turned on his partners in WWE? Drop your count below and let's see who's been paying attention. But Roman Reigns isn't the old Roman anymore. He's not the guy who's going to sulk in the corner and wait for management to book his revenge match 6 months from now. No, Roman has evolved. He's learned. He's adapted. And most importantly, he's connected with someone who understands betrayal on a molecular level: Jon Moxley. Now, let me paint you a picture of why this alliance is the most terrifying thing that could happen to WWE Raw. Jon Moxley left WWE in 2019 because he was suffocating under their creative control. He went to AEW and became the Death Rider, the Blackpool Combat Club's general, an NJPW champion, a man who wrestles with exploding barbed wire, a man who bleeds for his craft, a man who literally said he'd rather retire than be told how to wrestle again. This isn't Dean Ambrose coming back with goofy promos and a gas mask. This is Jon Moxley, the most legitimate tough guy in professional wrestling today. And Roman? Roman has the pedigree, the legacy, the Samoan dynasty running through his veins. His main event more WrestleManias than Seth Rollins will ever see. He held the WWE Championship for over 1,316 days. He unified the titles. He beat everyone. And now you're telling me that this Roman Reigns, the most dominant WWE champion in modern history, is partnering with the most violent wrestler in the world? Seth Rollins better start writing his will, because Raw is about to become a demolition derby with his body as the main attraction. Here's what my inside sources are telling me, and trust me, I've got connections that run deep in this industry. Roman Reigns reached out to Jon Moxley 3 weeks ago, right after Seth's betrayal. The conversation was simple: you remember what it felt like when they tried to control you? When they tried to break you? Seth just did that to me. He tried to manipulate me back into being his Shield brother instead of letting me be my own man. I need someone who understands what it means to stand on your own terms. And Moxley? Moxley's response was even simpler: when and where. Now, you might be thinking, wait, Doesn't Moxley have an AEW contract? How is this even possible? Well, let me educate you on how professional wrestling actually works in 2025. Contracts expire, negotiations happen, and when you're Jon Moxley, when you're one of the biggest draws in the industry, when you've proven you can main event in multiple promotions, in multiple countries, in multiple styles, you write your own ticket. The forbidden door isn't just open anymore, it's completely off the hinges. But here's the real question, and I want you to think carefully before you answer in the comments: is Jon Moxley returning to WWE a good thing for the company, or will his unpredictable violence be too much for the PG era? Let me know what you think, because let's be honest about what Jon Moxley brings to Raw. This isn't a feel-good comeback story, this isn't a nostalgia pop for the Shield, this is a hostile takeover. Moxley has spent the last 5 years wrestling the most violent matches in AEW, NJPW, and independent promotions around the world. He's wrestled in warehouses, he's fought with barbed wire, he's been thumbtacked, light-tubed, and absolutely brutalized. He's forgotten what sports entertainment even means. He only knows combat. And now you're putting that man in the same ring as Seth Rollins. Seth, who's been playing the sympathetic babyface. Seth, who wrestles a safe, WWE-style main event. Seth, who hasn't faced anyone like Jon Moxley since Moxley left WWE. This is going to be a massacre. Let me break down what's going to happen when Roman Reigns and Jon Moxley make their Raw return. First, you're going to hear Roman's music hit. The arena is going to explode because regardless of what you think about the tribal chief, you respect his presence. He's going to walk out, probably without the bloodline this time, because this is personal. This isn't about family anymore. This isn't about tribal warfare, this is about revenge. Roman's going to grab the microphone, and he's going to do what he does best. He's going to acknowledge the situation. He's going to tell Seth exactly what kind of mistake he made. He's going to remind everyone that the Shield never belonged to Seth Rollins. The Shield was successful because of 3 individuals, but only one of them became the face of WWE, and that was Roman Reigns. And then, the lights are going to flicker, the arena is going to go dark, and you're going to hear wild, chaotic music that WWE hasn't heard in over 5 years. Jon Moxley's entrance is going to be raw, unfiltered, and absolutely menacing. He's not going to do the Dean Ambrose shuffle. He's not going to crack jokes. He's going to walk to that ring like a man possessed, like a hitman who's been contracted for one job and one job only: destroy Seth Rollins. The visual alone is going to break the internet. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the head of the table, standing side by side with Jon Moxley, the Death Rider, the purveyor of violence. 2 men who represent everything that made the Shield legendary, but who have evolved beyond that faction into something far more dangerous. And Seth is going to realize in that moment that his vision was actually a nightmare. Here's another question for you, and this one's going to separate the casual fans from the hardcore faithful. If the Shield had to have a leader, who was it really? Roman, Seth, or Dean? Drop your answer below and defend your choice. But let's talk about the bigger picture here, because this isn't just about one rivalry. This is about the future of Monday Night Raw. Roman Reigns and Jon Moxley forming an alliance changes everything. It means that suddenly, every other superstar on the Raw roster has to pick a side. Are you with the tribal chief and the Death Rider? Or are you standing beside Seth Rollins, the man who talks about vision and brotherhood while stabbing his brothers in the back? This is going to create fact irons. This is going to create chaos. This is going to create the kind of must-see television that makes Raw the A-show again. Think about the potential matches: Roman and Moxley versus Seth, and who's brave enough to stand with Seth after he's proven he'll betray anyone when it suits his narrative? Maybe Cody Rhodes, maybe Drew McIntyre? The possibilities are endless, and every single one of them is box office. But here's what I'm most excited about: the violence. Jon Moxley doesn't do choreographed, pretty wrestling matches. He brings legitimate intensity, stiff strikes, and an anything-goes mentality. When Moxley steps into that ring with Seth Rollins, we're not getting a 30-minute technical classic. We're getting a fight, a real, visceral, make you uncomfortable fight that reminds you why you fell in love with wrestling in the first place. And Roman has shown over the past 4 years that he can adapt to any style. He can out-wrestle you, he can out-brawl you, he can outthink you. Pairing him with Moxley creates the perfect balance of calculated aggression and unhinged violence. They are the yin and yang of destruction, and Seth Rollins is about to get caught in the middle of that philosophical war. Now, I know some of you in the comments are going to say, this is just fantasy booking. This is never going to happen. And to those people, I say, watch what happens on Raw next week. Pay attention to the cryptic social media posts. Listen to what's being said between the lines in interviews. The signs are all there if you know where to look. WWE knows they need a shot in the arm. AEW has been breathing down their neck for years. Netflix is about to air Raw, and they need major moments to justify that massive deal. What better way to create headlines, to create controversy, to create must-see TV than by bringing back Jon Moxley in the most unexpected alliance in modern wrestling history? This isn't just good business. This is genius business. Final question before we wrap this up, and I want everyone to answer this one on a scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you for Roman Reigns and Jon Moxley teaming up? Drop your rating in the comments and tell me why. Seth Rollins started this war with his vision Betrayal. He manipulated emotions, he weaponized nostalgia, and he stabbed Roman Reigns in the back for the second time in his career. But what Seth didn't count on was Roman's evolution. What he didn't predict was that Roman would reach out to the one man on the planet who understands betrayal, who understands violence, and who has zero problem making Seth pay for his sins. Jon Moxley is coming to WWE Raw. Roman Reigns is bringing him through the door, and together they are going to remind Seth Rollins and the entire WWE universe that actions have consequences. You don't betray the tribal chief. You don't manipulate the narrative. And you certainly don't think you can walk away unscathed. The Shield may be dead, but something far more dangerous has just been born. And Seth Rollins is about to find out that karma doesn't just come back around, sometimes it comes back with backup. So hit that like button if you're ready to see Seth Rollins get what he deserves. Subscribe to Wrestling Zone 1 for all the latest breaking news and insider information. And drop your comments below. I want to hear everything you think about this situation. Raw is about to become unmissable, and if you're not watching when Roman and Moxley make their entrance, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. This is Wrestling Zone 1, and we'll see you in the next one.